Morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, April 15th. Seems like day 247 of quarantine and day 56 of rain and mud outside on the chickens. So I'm in the living room. There's no point in going out in the puddles to get a muddy chicken, though it would be entertaining to watch, I'm sure. So I hope you're all well. I'm sorry I missed yesterday's video. Um, Lots of mud, lots of rain. And honestly, if you watched Maya Angelou read her poem, there's no way I was doing better than that anyways. So um, she is quite the author, speaker, and poet, and I think it was worth you watching her. Today, same thing. I can't do Martin Luther King Jr. either. So, in addition to this video, you're going to have his video to watch, his I Have a Dream speech. On Monday, we talked about what makes a speech different than writing, and I gave you a couple of pointers about your introduction and your conclusion. I'll put up a little template for you today to work on so you can start the writing of ideas. I don't expect you to be writing your speech yet. You still have time for that, but it's a process, and I really want you to think through things you might say and how you might make it a really good speech. Your introduction, of course, where you introduce who you are, what you're doing, note who the audience is, that sort of thing. You wouldn't do that in writing necessarily, but you would do it in a speech. Same with the conclusion. On Monday, I mentioned that in writing, we don't normally uh, project where the conclusion is. You know where the conclusion is, it's at the end. But with a speech, you don't know where the end is. That person up there on the stage could, and oftentimes does, go on and on forever. And you don't want to be that guy. So you want to, in your speech, at the end, you can go through what you told them, what was important, and you can say my final remarks or my closing thoughts or something like that, and then do the conclusion. Don't keep going on and on 5 minutes after that because you'll lose people's patience. If you promise them it's the end, they want the end. So what I want you to focus on today is another thing that's different in speech writing versus writing for a paper. If you were writing a paper, a research paper, anytime you repeated yourself, I'd probably cross it out because it's a paper. You don't repeat yourself in a paper. You may illustrate a point and then explain it and then, explain why you explained it, but you wouldn't keep saying the same thing in a paper. Because in a paper, whoever's reading it can go back and see what you wrote if they had any confusion. In a speech, if you have a point that's really difficult or really important or really heartfelt, you may want to repeat it to make sure your audience gets it because people's attention spans kind of go like this. And if you say something really important when their attention span is down here, they're going to miss the important thing because when they wake back up and start paying attention again, you would be past your important point. So in a speech, you'll oftentimes hear people repeat themselves. They'll lay out a very clear outline of what they're going to talk about, and then they'll go and talk about it, and then oftentimes they'll go back and tell you what they talked about. In writing, that wouldn't be acceptable because it would seem repetitive. But in a speech, especially when you've only got about 10 minutes or so to talk to someone, you want to capture that wave of attention span and make sure you're saying things enough times that everybody gets it. So oftentimes a speech has much less information than a written research paper, but it has information that you want to drive home and make sure that your audience gets. So that being said, I'd like you to watch Martin Luther King and pay special attention to how much he repeats himself and how much he says things like where he'll say something and then he'll give you an explanation of what he said and why it's important that he said it. And that cadence of speech writing is I don't want to say it's a song necessarily, but it's kind of like a cross between a poem and a song where you almost have lyrics in a speech. You say things in ways so that people remember what you said, not just the meaning, but the way you said it. And I think you'll see that if you watch Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. The materials for, again, the materials for the last project are all under that Files tab, under Final Project, all the speeches, all the links, all the poems that we've gone over. And remember, the requirements are that you need to use at least 3 of those sources. If you want to use different sources that you find inspirational, that's fine as well. And obviously, the I Have a Dream speech is not a commencement speech, but it is perhaps and arguably one of the best speeches ever delivered. And I think it's worth watching and commenting on. So here's what you're doing for today. You are watching the Martin Luther King speech, and then you are sending me a turned in document, note, whatever, that uh, where you talk about what that purpose of repetition was. I want you to specifically look for repetition in his speech and how that makes the speech more powerful. And in addition, I'll attach that outline of where you might start writing ideas down for your own speech that will be due like a week and a half or so. So it's April 15th, middle of April. I know I've gotten a bunch of questions, and please, I got my phone on me all the time, and I'm locked down in quarantine. So if you have a question or a comment or whatever, you just want to chat, that's fine too. Send me a chat in Teams. Let me know how you're doing. I'm happy to answer those at any hours, just like we would if we were really in school. So, uh, watch the Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream speech. Send me something about the repetition in it. Take care of yourselves. Seriously, miss you guys. Um, and if I hear anything, I've gotten some questions about things. Gosh, I wish I had an answer for you. I don't know. I don't know if we're going back in May. I don't know if we're doing final exams the same days we always were. I don't know if your last day is May 8th. I wish I did. Um, I would just, Principal Stidham says, be flexible as a young pine in the wind. And I think that's just what we have to go with. I would suspect that we'll get some information this week because it's already the middle of April, and I would imagine that the district has to make some sort of decision shortly about what we're doing and how we're doing it. But um, I don't know. I wish I did. Have an awesome Wednesday. Try to stay dry, stay out of the rain, and I hope y'all are well. Take care of yourselves, get enough sleep, take your vitamins if you take them, eat healthy, make sure you drink a lot of water. It supposedly helps. And I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Maybe a chicken tomorrow. I don't know. Oh, exciting news. Well, no, you know what? We're just going to save it. It'll just be a surprise for Monday. Yeah, that's right. Maybe a surprise Monday. All right, guys. Have an awesome day. Miss you all. Hope you're well. And use the chat function if you've got a question. I'm here. See y'all.